The wind on Velar was dry and slow. Sand covered the ground like an endless ocean, and the sky was always orange, even at night. This planet had no cities, no noise, and no people, only silence. And Rayan liked it that way. Rayan was a human. He once fought in the Galactic War, but that was a long time ago. He didn't like to remember those days. His body had healed, but his heart still carried scars. Now he lived alone in a small house built from old metal and stone. It stood on a quiet hill where the wind couldn't reach too deeply. His only companion was Zim, a round flying robot the size of a football. Zim had one blue eye and a voice that sounded like a calm teacher. "Rayan," Zim said one morning, "you did not eat dinner last night." "I wasn't hungry," Rayan answered, sitting on a rock and watching the sun rise again. Zim hovered near him. "Lack of food weakens the body. Do you wish to become ill?" Rayan gave a small smile. "Wouldn't be the worst thing." Zim beeped quietly. He didn't understand jokes or sadness. He only understood data. And the data said Rayan was slowly losing interest in life. That evening, as Rayan sat by his small fire, a light streaked across the sky. At first, he thought it was a falling star. But it didn't disappear. It grew bigger and brighter. Then he heard a distant boom. Rayan stood up. His hand moved to the side of his belt, where a small scanner was attached. He aimed it at the sky. "Object has crashed," Zim said, scanning with his own sensors. 7 kilometers east. Unknown ship. No life signs detected from this distance. Rayan looked out into the dark desert. He didn't want to go. He liked being alone. But something in his chest pulled him forward. Maybe curiosity. Maybe something else. "Let's go," he said. The ride on his small sand bike was rough. The wind blew harder in the open lands. Dust hit his face, and the cold night air made his hands stiff. But he didn't stop. After 20 minutes, he saw it. A small silver ship, half buried in the sand, smoke rising from one side. The ship's surface was scratched but not badly broken. It looked like it came from another galaxy. He walked toward it slowly. "Be careful," Zim warned. "It may still be dangerous." "I know," Rayan said. He climbed up the side, opened the door, and stepped inside. It was quiet. Lights flickered. The air smelled like metal and burnt plastic. The ship was not big, just enough for 1 or 2 people. He moved carefully through the narrow hallway. Then he saw her. A girl. She was sitting against the wall, eyes closed. She had silver hair and skin that glowed faintly in the dark. Her clothes were strange, thin like paper, but glowing at the edges. Her arms were wrapped around her legs, and her face looked peaceful, like someone sleeping after crying. Ray and froze. "Zim," he whispered. "I found someone." Zim floated closer. "She is not human, possibly a Ranal species. But I detect no weapons. She's breathing very lightly, weak pulse. No wounds." Rayan knelt beside her. He didn't know what to do. Should he leave her? Call her people? But his hand moved before his thoughts did. He gently touched her shoulder. Her eyes opened. They were silver, like her hair, but deep like the ocean. She didn't speak. She just looked at him, not with fear, but with calm. Rayan helped her stand. She didn't resist. He looked around. The ship was starting to shake. "We need to leave," he said. The girl said nothing, but nodded. Back at Rayan's home, he gave her water and food. She didn't eat much, just small bites. She didn't speak either, but she watched everything. Her eyes followed every move he made, as if learning. Zim scanned her again. "Her name is not registered. Possibly lost or escaped from another planet. She is very quiet." Rayan sat across from her. The fire crackled between them. He noticed that she kept looking at the flames, as if remembering something. "You understand me?" he asked softly. She looked at him and gave a slow nod. "But you can't talk?" No reply, only silence. "That's okay," he said. I've said too many words in my life anyway. Zim hovered closer. Should we contact authorities? Her species may be looking for her. No, Rayan said quickly. Not yet. He didn't know why he said that. He just knew he didn't want her to be taken away. Not yet. She felt peaceful. And that was something he hadn't felt in years. That night, he gave her a small bed near the window. She laid down quietly, eyes still open. Rayan sat near the fire, looking at an old photo of his war team. Most of them were gone now. He closed his eyes. For the first time in a long while, he didn't dream of war. He didn't dream of pain. He just remembered those silver eyes, looking at him like he wasn't broken. The next morning on Villernine was quiet, like always. But something had changed in Rayan's home. It was not just the rising sun or the slow-moving wind. It was the feeling inside the house softer, lighter. Rayan woke up early. His bones still ached from years of battle, but his heart felt a little less heavy. He walked into the main room. The fire had died down during the night. A soft orange light came through the dusty window. The girl, Ilari, that was the name Rayan had decided to call her, was sitting by the window. Her silver hair glowed under the sun. She looked outside, calm and quiet, as if she belonged to the sky itself. You sleep well? Rayan asked. Ilari turned her head slowly and gave a small nod. No words, no sound. But her eyes showed understanding. She understands. Rayan whispered to himself. Zim floated into the room, blinking softly. Her body temperature is normal, Zim said. No signs of illness. She is recovering well. She still hasn't spoken. Maybe she cannot, or maybe she chooses not to. Rayan placed a cup of water beside her. She looked at it for a moment, then took a sip. Her hands were small and delicate, but steady. Later that day, Rayan showed her around the area. The house was simple: one main room, a small storage area, and a roof that sometimes leaked. But there was a garden outside where dry plants tried to grow. He had once tried to farm there, but the soil was not kind. Ilari walked slowly beside him. She touched the leaves gently, like she respected even the smallest life. You ever seen a garden before? He asked. She didn't reply, but she knelt down and touched the dry ground. Her fingers glowed faintly, and for a moment, just a moment, the soil turned soft. Rayan stared. Did you do that? Ilari stood up and looked at him. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes said, yes. That evening, Rayan sat near the fire again. Ilari sat a few steps away, close but not too close. She was always quiet, always watching. But he didn't feel uncomfortable. I used to fight in the war, he said, his voice low. The stars looked beautiful from space, but down there, it was all fire. I lost my team. I came here to forget. Ilari looked at the fire, then at him. She didn't move. But her presence felt warm, like she understood his pain. I don't know who you are, he said. But somehow you make this place feel less empty. Zim beeped softly from a shelf. She is not from any known registry. Her DNA is different, very rare. Not dangerous, but special. Rayan looked at her again. Yeah, she's different. But I don't want her to leave. Days passed. Ilari never spoke, but she stayed close. She helped Rayan in small ways, watering the plants, fixing small parts of the roof, and even helping Zim clean the tools. She was learning quickly, almost like a child discovering the world for the first time. One night, the wind blew hard. Sand hit the windows. Rayan stood near the door, checking the locks. Storm's coming, he said. These winds can tear things apart. Zim floated beside him. Winds are expected to last until morning. We should stay inside. Rayan turned back toward the room. Ilari was curled up on a mat near the wall. The wind made the walls creak. And for the first time, she looked afraid. Rayan sat near her. It's okay, this house won't fall. I built it strong. She didn't answer. But slowly, carefully, she leaned her head against his arm. Rayan didn't move. The wind roared outside. But inside the room, everything was still. She rested there peaceful, trusting. And Rayan, the man who had once feared closeness, didn't push her away. He placed his arm gently around her. Zim, from the other side of the room, spoke softly. Emotional signs show high connection between you two. Rayan smiled just a little. Yeah, he said. She's not just a guest anymore. The next morning, the storm was gone. Sand had piled up against the door, but the sky was clear. Rayan opened the door and looked outside. The world was washed clean by wind. A strange beauty filled the air. I stood beside him. Together, they looked out at the desert, and then she did something unexpected. She reached out and placed her hand on Rayan's chest right where his deepest scar was. He looked down, surprised. Her fingers glowed slightly. He felt something, not pain, not sadness, just warmth, like light spreading inside him. It was not magic, not healing, but it felt real. He touched her hand gently. You know, Ilari, he whispered, you don't have to say anything. You being here, it's enough. Ilari looked at him with soft eyes. And for the first time in many years, Rayan didn't feel broken. Rayan sat alone by the garden in the early morning light. The desert wind was calm for once. The sky stretched wide and empty, painted with soft blue and pink. In his hand, he held an old metal cup filled with hot tea. He looked out across the sands, remembering battles, friends he had lost, and the loneliness that followed. But now something was different. Inside the house, Ilari was watering the dry plants. She moved carefully, like each leaf was something important. She didn't speak, but she had become part of the place. Her presence was soft, but it filled every corner of the home. Even Zim, who usually noticed everything, had no complaint about her. She brings no threat, Zim had said earlier. Only change. Rayan smiled a little at that. Change. Yes, that was the word. Later that day, Rayan showed Ilari a box. It was hidden under his bed for years, covered in dust and forgotten memories. These, he said, opening it, are the people I lost. Inside were old photographs, military patches and letters. Ilari sat beside him, silent as always. She picked up a small photo. It showed Rayan with 5 others laughing, holding each other close. Their uniforms were torn, their faces tired, but their eyes were full of life. That's my team, Rayan said quietly. We fought together, bled together. He picked up another photo. This was my best friend. His name was Kale. He saved me more times than I can count. But I couldn't save him. Rayan looked down. His hands shook slightly. I didn't say a word. She just placed her hand gently on his dot, and in that moment, no words were needed. That night, the wind returned. Not strong like before, but enough to shake the windows. Rayan couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire, staring into the flames. The scars on his chest ached, like they always did when memories came back. Ilari entered the room silently and sat beside him. She wrapped a thin blanket around herself. Her silver eyes reflected the firelight. I had dreams, Rayan whispered. Before the war, I wanted to build ships. I wanted to fly to peaceful planets. But after the war, I didn't want anything. Ilari listened, watching the fire with him. He looked at her. But since you came, I've started to remember that part of me. Ilari looked at him, her eyes gentle. Then slowly, she laid her head on his shoulder. Rayan's heart slowed. His breath grew calm. The fire cracked, and the shadows danced on the walls. For the first time he leaned back and closed his eyes with someone beside him. She didn't speak. She just stayed. That was enough. In the following days, life began to feel different. Ilari continued helping with the garden. The plants grew. Faster, not just from water, but maybe from her silent touch. The air felt lighter. Even the sandstorms came less often. Zim recorded the changes. Strange increase in soil health and air balance. No clear reason, Rayan laughed. Maybe Ilari is the reason. Zim hovered near her. Her energy patterns are not normal. I believe she is connected to something more powerful than we understand. Ilari looked at Zim and tilted her head. A small smile played on her lips. It was the first time Rayan had ever seen her smile. One evening, while cleaning a storage shelf, Rayan pulled out a cracked mirror. He hadn't looked at his reflection in a long time. His face was rough, marked with small scars. His hair had grown wild, and his eyes looked tired. But something else was there too, something softer. Ilari walked in and saw him staring at himself. I don't look like the man I used to be, he said. Ilari walked closer and gently touched the scar near his eye. He didn't flinch. You don't see me as broken, do you? He asked. She placed her hand over his chest, over the biggest scar, and looked into his eyes. Her touch was soft, steady. Rayan's breath caught in his throat. Thank you, he whispered. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Rayan sat outside on the hill. Ilari joined him. The silence between them was peaceful now, not heavy. You. No, he said. When I first saw you in that crashed ship, I thought you were a ghost. Ilari smiled faintly, her eyes shining under the starlight. I still don't know who you are, or where you came from. But I'm glad you're here. Zim flew beside them and beeped softly. No signals detected from nearby planets. Still, no data on her origin. She remains a mystery. I don't care where she came from, Rayan said. She's home now. Ilari leaned her head against his arm again, like she did that night during the storm. He put his arm around her, gently, carefully. His heartbeat was calm. His mind was quiet. For the first time in years, he didn't feel the weight of his past. She had never said a word. But her silence had spoken more than anyone else ever had. And when she slept in his arms that night, he didn't feel lonely, he felt whole. The days on Vilernine passed quietly. Rayan and Ilari worked side by side. The garden, once dry and dying, had started to show green. The air felt softer. Even the light in the sky seemed warmer. Ilari still didn't speak, but her silence no longer felt empty. Her actions were full of care. She moved like someone who belonged not just to the place, but to the people in it. Rayan had stopped counting the days. He no longer thought of time, or war, or loneliness. He only thought of the present, of the way Ilari touched a flower as if it were sacred, or how she looked at the stars with wonder. But peace doesn't last forever. One morning, while Rayan was repairing the solar panel on the roof, Zim floated up beside him. Rayan, Zim said, I have received something. Rayan wiped sweat from his forehead. A message? Not a message, a signal. From space, Rayan looked up. From who? Unknown origin. It's encrypted. Repeating on a strange frequency. Zim showed the waveform in the air. It was soft, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Ilari, standing in the doorway below, suddenly froze. Her eyes widened as she heard the sound. Rayan climbed down quickly. You recognize this, don't you? He asked her. Ilari gave a slow, careful nod. Is it your people? She didn't move. Are they looking for you? She looked down at the ground and stayed still. But her silence gave him the answer. Yes, that night, Rayan couldn't sleep. He sat near the fire, running his fingers along the old war medal hanging on the wall. He hadn't touched it in years. Ilari sat nearby, hands folded in her lap. Her eyes were filled with thought. I know you came from somewhere far, Rayan said softly. I never asked because I didn't need to, but now, he paused. If they come, will they take you away? Ilari didn't respond. But she looked at him, and something in her eyes seemed afraid, not for herself, but for him. Zim hovered closer. I analyzed the signal. It matches an ancient system called Valari core speech. Very few species use it today. She may be one of the last. Rayan looked at Ilari. Are they dangerous? Ilari nodded slowly. Zim added, it is likely they consider her missing. If they find her here with a human, they may see it as betrayal. Rayan stood up. Then we need to hide her. Ilari gently took his hand. She shook her head. No. Rayan asked, you won't hide? She looked at him, then at the stars. You want to face them? She gave a short, firm nod. Zim beeped in concern. This is not safe. She may be punished or worse. But Rayan saw something else in her eyes. Courage. The next day, Rayan climbed the tallest hill with Zim. From there he could see far across the desert. The wind was soft. The sky was clear. Then he saw it. A small black dot far above the horizon growing. Larger. A ship, Zim said. Fast approach. Not a trade ship. Not human design. Rayan's jaw tightened. So they're here. That night, Rayan prepared a bag, just in case. Tools, old weapons, energy cells. But deep down, he knew he didn't want to fight. He looked at Ilari. She was calm, standing near the fire, her silver hair glowing faintly. I won't let them take you if you don't want to go, he told her. She reached out and touched his hand. Then, for the first time, she placed her other hand over his heart and closed her eyes. Her body glowed with soft light. Not bright, just enough to warm the space around them. In that moment, Rayan felt everything. Her memories, her pain. She had escaped from a place where emotions were controlled. Her people were advanced, yes, but cold. They believed feelings made you weak. Ilari was born different. She could feel deeply, and that made her dangerous to them. She ran. And her ship crashed here. But in Rayan's presence she felt safe. Understood. Seen. And now, her people were coming, not to bring her home, but to erase her gift. A dark ship landed 2 hills away, silent, smooth, made of black stone like metal. No lights, no sound. 3 tall figures walked out. Their faces were covered by silver masks, their bodies thin and still. Ilari stood near the door, unmoving. Rayan stepped forward. Stay here, he told her. Ilari touched his arm once. Then, nodded. Zim floated beside him. They will not listen to reason. I'll try anyway. Rayan walked toward the strangers. The air felt heavier with each step. When he stood a few feet away, one of the masked beings raised a hand. A cold voice echoed not from their mouth, but from the air around them. Return the child of Ilari. She is not yours. She's not a child, Rayan said. She's free. And she stays if she chooses to. She carries the old spark. It must be removed. No, Rayan said, louder now. That spark is life. You fear it because you've forgotten how to feel. They took a step closer. Zim beeped nervously. Rayan, they are powering a weapon. Then something happened. Ilari stepped forward. Her body shone with bright silver light, stronger than before. The strangers stopped. She raised her hand. A soft wave of light spread around her, wrapping Rayan and Zim in warmth. The air shimmered. The ground stopped trembling. She looked at the strangers. And for the first time she spoke. One word. Stay. The sound was calm but full of meaning. Like a command wrapped in peace. The strangers stood still, confused, silent. Then slowly, they turned around and walked back to their ship. No fight. No words. Just silence. When they left, the air felt light again. I turned to Rayan. He looked at her, surprised. You spoke. She gave a tiny smile. Yes, he couldn't believe it. Her voice was soft, but powerful. Like music. He stepped closer, touched her hand. You told them to stay, he said. She nodded, and they listened. Zim floated slowly behind them. I believe they felt her emotions. It was beautiful. And powerful. Rayan smiled. You didn't need weapons, you had truth. Ilari leaned her head against Rayan's shoulder, and he wrapped his arms around her dot under the stars. They stood there, two lives from different worlds, no longer broken, no longer afraid, together. After the strangers left, silence returned to Villanine, but it felt different now, calm but tense. Like the wind before a storm, Rayan sat on the roof of his home, looking out at the desert. The stars above were quiet, but his heart was not. He had seen something strange and powerful. Ilari's voice, just one word, had stopped a threat without force. He could still feel the warmth from that light she shared. It was not fire. It was not a weapon. It was something deeper. Inside the house, Ilari moved slowly. She touched the wall near the window and closed her eyes, like she was listening to something distant. Since she spoke, Rayan had not asked her to explain. He didn't need to. She had shown him who she was without speaking much, but now he had a question he couldn't ignore. That evening, Rayan sat near the fire. Ilari sat beside him, her legs crossed, her silver hair falling over one shoulder. You knew they would come, Rayan said softly. Ilari gave a slight nod. They weren't here to help you. They were afraid of you. Ilari looked into the flames, her expression still. Why? He asked. Why are they afraid of what you carry? Ilari lifted her hand, and a soft light formed in her palm. It wasn't bright. It was gentle, like the light of the early sun. Feeling, she said quietly. Truth. Rayan leaned forward. That light, it's your gift, isn't it? She nodded. My people hide it. Long ago, they stopped feeling. Only mind, no heart. I was born different, Rayan understood, so they tried to silence you. Ilari closed her hand, and the light faded. But I survived. Just then, Zim entered the room, beeping rapidly. Warning, Zim said. A new ship has entered orbit, same design as before. But this one is larger, stronger. Rayan stood quickly. They're back? Zim beeped again. No communication. This time, they are not coming to speak. They are preparing for something else. Ilari stood as well. Her face was calm, but her eyes were serious. They didn't listen, Rayan said. They're coming to take you by force. Ilari walked to the window and looked up. Even from the ground, they could see the black shadow of the ship in the sky. It covered the stars like a dark cloud. We need to hide, Zim said. No. Ilari whispered. We protect. Rayan ran to his old storage unit. It was half buried in sand, but still locked tight. He opened it and pulled out the old armor he hadn't touched in years. It smelled of dust and old memories. He strapped the pieces on chest, shoulders, boots. It felt heavy, but familiar. Not because he wanted to fight, but because he had to. Stand for something now, this time not for a country. Not for orders. For Ilari. Ilari placed her hand on his shoulder. You don't need to fight. I know, Rayan said. But I won't let them hurt you. She stepped closer, placed her forehead gently against his. Then the sky lit up. A bright beam came down from the dark ship above. It didn't touch the house, but it struck the sand nearby, sending waves of heat and dust into the air. Rayan pulled. Ilari behind the wall. They're warning us. Zim scanned the sky. They have charged their main weapon. If they strike again, this house will not survive. Ilari stepped forward. Her hands began to glow brighter than ever before. No, Rayan said, grabbing her hand. You can't go alone. I must, she said softly. Rayan shook his head. Then I'm going with you. Together, they walked into the desert, toward the falling beam of light. The air around them crackled. Sand lifted with the energy. From the ship above, a second light began to form, bigger, hotter. Rayan could feel it in his bones. The pressure, the power, but Ilari did not stop. When they Reached the center of the storm, she raised both hands and her entire body began to shine. The light wrapped around them in a circle, blocking the heat. Zim hovered just behind. "This energy is beyond anything I've recorded." Ilari's voice rose calm but strong. "You do not need to fear." The clouds above parted. And the dark ship paused. Then from above, a new voice echoed through the sky. "You cannot stop us, child of Ilari. Light cannot rule us." Ilari closed her eyes. "We do not wish to rule," she said. "We only wish to feel." Rayan looked up at the ship. "She's not your prisoner anymore. She's free. And I'll stand by her." The wind rose again. Then, suddenly, Ilari stepped forward and placed her hands on the ground. A wave of silver light spread out in every direction, touching the sand, the rocks, the sky. For a moment, all sounds stopped. Even the ship above went quiet. Then something changed. Black ship's lights flickered. Its shape twisted, not in attack, but in hesitation. As if the people inside had felt something they hadn't felt in years. Fear, sadness, regret, and then silence. The ship turned. Slowly, quietly, it drifted away, vanishing into the stars. Rayan stood there, eyes wide. "They're leaving." Ilari lowered her hands. Her light faded. She looked tired but peaceful. Zim scanned the sky. No trace of weapons. "They're gone." Rayan turned to Ilari. "How did you do that?" "I shared my heart," she said softly. "And they remembered theirs." They walked back to the house together. No fire burned. The night was cold, but Rayan didn't feel the chill. I sat beside him, resting her head on his chest. He placed his arms around her gently. "You saved us," he whispered. She closed her eyes. "You gave me strength." In that moment, Rayan no longer felt like a broken soldier. He felt human again, whole, warm, alive. As Ilari slept in his arms under the soft light of the stars, Rayan smiled. The storm had passed. The morning after the storm felt like the beginning of something new. The desert air was soft. The sky was open, clean, and full of quiet light. Rayan stood outside his house, watching the wind move through the sand. Ilari stood beside him, calm and still. Her silver hair danced gently in the breeze. The black ship was gone. "No noise, no threat, just peace." "You did it," Rayan said. "You made them leave." Ilari looked at the horizon. "Not with power, with heart." Rayan nodded. He had seen many battles in his life, loud, painful, full of fear. But what Ilari had done was different. She didn't fight with anger. She changed everything with silence, light, and truth. Zim floated near them. The energy level in the atmosphere has returned to normal. No signs of hostile ships in orbit. Situation is safe. Rayan turned to Ilari. "Now what?" She looked up at the sky. "Now we build." That day, Ilari and Rayan started cleaning the area around the house. The blast from the ship's warning beam had left a mark, a circle of burned sand, not far from their home. But even in the center of that damage, something strange was happening. Small green shoots were growing. Ilari knelt beside them and touched one gently. It responded to her light, growing taller and stronger. Rayan smiled. "You're really bringing life to this place." She nodded. Together, Rayan sat beside her. "You know, this place used to feel like a prison to me. I came here to be forgotten, but now..." He looked at the green shoots. "Now it feels like home." Later that evening, Rayan took out an old notebook. It was filled with drawings, half-finished notes, and sketches of ships he once dreamed of building. He hadn't opened it in years. Ilari sat across from him, watching with interest. "I used to be an engineer," he said. "Long before the war, I wanted to build things, quiet things. Not machines for fighting, just machines that helped." Ilari picked up the notebook. She pointed at one drawing, an image of a small ship shaped like a bird. I called that one hope, Rayan said. Ilari looked up and smiled. You like it? She nodded. Ray and leaned back. Maybe it's time I build again. The days began to pass slowly and peacefully. Rayan and Ilari worked on repairing the roof, planting new seeds, and even starting a new garden away from the first. Ilari showed him how to use her glowing hands to warm the soil and give life to dying roots. In return, Rayan taught her how to fix old machines. She was a fast learner. Her hands were steady. Her eyes focused. Zim watched them with quiet amazement. I am observing unusual emotional growth in both of you, the robot said one day. Rayan laughed. That's called happiness, Zim. Zim blinked, noted. One afternoon, Ilari was sitting by the window, drawing in the notebook. She had started creating her own simple, soft, curved lines that looked like stars and waves. What is that? Rayan asked. She smiled and pointed. My language. Rayan sat beside her. You're writing it? She nodded. Then she flipped to a new page and began writing the same shapes beside English words. Sun, home, peace, feel, together. You're making a bridge between us, he said. Ilari looked into his eyes. We are one. That night, as they sat by the fire, Ilari did something unexpected. She sang. It was soft, gentle, a melody with no words. Her voice was high and smooth, like wind moving through crystal. Rayan listened, frozen. The song touched something inside him, something hidden deep under old pain and silence. When she stopped, the fire cracked softly. That was beautiful, he whispered. She looked shy but happy. It's an old song. My mother sang it once. You remember her? Ilari nodded. She felt like me, but she was afraid. She hid her light. I couldn't. Rayan took her hand. You don't need to hide here, she smiled. I know. The next morning, a signal came again. But it was not from a warship. It was from a peaceful explorer ship passing near the system. Zim checked the frequency. They are human. They're scanning for signs of life. Rayan looked at Ilari. Do you want them to know we're here? Ilari thought for a moment. Then she shook her head. Not yet. Still don't trust them? I trust you, she said. Rayan smiled. That's enough for me. Zim sent a silent response. A coded message saying the planet was stable and peaceful, but no help was needed. The ship passed by without stopping, and the quiet returned. A few days later, Rayan finished building a small room beside the house. He had used leftover metal and smooth stone. It was simple but strong. He showed it to Ilari. For you, he said. A space to dream, to write, to rest. She walked inside. There were soft lights in the ceiling and a large window that showed the stars. Ilari touched the wall. Her eyes were bright. She turned to him. It's beautiful. He stood in the doorway. It's yours. Ilari walked up to him slowly. Then without a word, she placed her hands gently on his cheeks and kissed him. It was soft and brief, but full of emotion. When she pulled away, she whispered, Thank you for giving me a place in your heart. Rayan smiled, touched his forehead to hers, and closed his eyes. You gave me something too, he said. You gave me peace. That night, the stars above Velarnine were the brightest they had ever been. Ilari rested in his arms once again, and Rayan no longer remembered the war, the pain, or the old scars on his body. He only remembered this moment. Warmth, light, and love that needed no language at all. The days on Velarnine had grown softer. The winds that once felt cold and cruel now brought fresh scents of growing plants, warm soil, and new beginnings. The desert was changing. Green had started to bloom across the brown, and life was slowly returning. Rayan stood outside the house, hands in his pockets, watching the sky turn gold as the sun set. He no longer wore his old armor. It was packed away, forgotten like the man he used to be. Ilari walked toward him, barefoot, with a basket full of fruits and herbs from their garden. Her silver hair glowed in the sunlight. Her eyes sparkled with calm joy. Rayan turned to her with a smile. "Dinner looks good," he said. She gave him a soft smile and handed him a fruit. "You helped it grow." He took a bite. It was sweet more than he expected. He laughed. "I never thought something could taste this good on a desert planet." Ilari nodded. When hearts are healed, even the soil listens. Inside the house, Zim floated near the ceiling, gently watering hanging plants. The little robot had changed too. Its voice was calmer now, and it no longer repeated warnings or scanned for danger every hour. "I have updated my behavior systems," Zim said. "Less worry, more balance." Rayan chuckled. "Even you found peace." "I learned it from you too," Zim replied. Ilari sat on the floor, lighting a small lantern with her glowing fingers. Rayan watched her quietly. She didn't need words to make him feel something. Every small action she made held meaning. She had become part of this home, not just in body, but in soul. That night, they sat around the small fire outside. The stars above them were countless. Velar 9 had no city lights to hide them. Rayan leaned back on a stone, Ilari resting beside him, her head on his shoulder. Zim floated quietly nearby, lights dimmed. "I used to think home was a place," Rayan said softly. "A city, a ship, something built by hands." Ilari looked up at him. "And now?" He smiled. "Now I think home is who you're with. A feeling, not a place." Ilari took his hand. "That's the language I speak." In the following weeks they built more, a second shelter. A small tower for watching the skies. A pond made from redirected underground water. They also planted trees, strong ones that could live through hard winds and dry days. "Maybe one day others will come here," Rayan said as he planted another seedling. "Others who are tired, broken, lost." Ilari placed her hand over the soil. A faint glow passed from her skin to the ground. "They will find healing," she said. "As you did." Rayan looked at her. "As we did." One day, while Zim was scanning the horizon, he picked up a small ship entering the system. Not a warship, not a threat. It was a traveler, a peaceful explorer, moving slowly. "They are human," Zim said. "Scanning for safe landing zones. No weapons, one person on board." Rayan looked at Ilari. She didn't speak, but gave a small nod. "Let them land," he said. The ship came down a few miles away. A woman stepped out, young, tired, and carrying an old communication device. Her name was Lena. She had been searching for quiet after losing her family in the war. "This place feels warm," she said. "But how?" "It's a desert planet." Rayan smiled. "It was once, but not anymore." They gave Lena a place to rest. Ilari gave her a small necklace made from desert crystal. It glowed faintly in her hands. "What is this?" Lena asked. "It listens to your heart," Ilari said. From that day, the small home became a quiet beacon, not of power, but of peace. Travelers began to hear stories, not of riches or fuel or battlefields, but of healing. Rayan and Ilari didn't seek attention. They didn't rule. They simply lived, and that quiet life began to touch others. One evening, a child arrived with her mother. The child had not spoken in months. Ilari knelt beside her, smiled, and held her hand. The child whispered her name. Rayan saw the tears in the mother's eyes. "You helped her," the mother said. "No," Rayan replied. "She helped herself." Ilari just reminded her how. Years passed like gentle wind. The garden turned into a small forest. The desert became dotted with homes, each one simple, each one cared for by someone who had chosen a new life. Zim built a small learning station where he taught young ones about stars and soil. He often joked, "I was built to calculate battles. Now I explain butterflies." Ilari's drawings became part of the walls. Her symbols told stories of love, peace, and silent healing. And Rayan? He built again, not weapons, not ships for war, but bridges, water tools, homes. And every night, when the stars filled the sky, Ilari would rest in his arms, just like she did that first night, and he would forget everything that once hurt him. Night, much later, Rayan sat under the sky alone, writing in his notebook. Ilari joined him and looked at the pages. "What are you writing?" she asked. He smiled. "A story. About a man who thought he was broken, but a girl who didn't speak showed him how to heal." She leaned against him. "Is it a sad story?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, it's a true story, and it has a beautiful ending." Ilari closed her eyes. "Then it's our story.